Welcome to the Put on Waivers Media Group, home of the Put on Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California, POR, SBR. And it is my Twitter handle, and then Ryan's is RHON22. A little dazed and confused after, a horrible football weekend for the channel, and very bad weekend for the Raiders here, as they get kind of just destroyed by I don't know. I didn't see Singletary out there. I didn't see Richard Dent out there. I didn't see any of those I didn't see any of those players like that out there for the Bears. But I didn't even know Marcedes Lewis was still in the league. He caught a pass in that game. Just a really bad situation for the Raiders here. And I kind of want to take it from a different perspective here. How you're playing an inexperienced quarterback who has, he's a Division II quarterback. Good for him making the NFL roster. What are things that should be done to stop him from having early success? Because obviously, once he had early success, they couldn't stop anything else, and that kind of led to kind of the snowball effect of of Foreman and everybody else just having a day against the Raiders.
I think the word you're looking for is mollywopped. They got mollywopped by the Chicago Bears' third-string running back, undrafted free agent rookie quarterback, and they were missing a couple offensive linemen. But we talked about it on the previous show. They had to sell it to stop the run, and they didn't do that. Patrick Graham came out and wanted to play a bunch of nickel. Ego got in the way, thinking, hey, we're going to stop the run with some smaller guys in there. For some reason, Tyler Hall was taken out as a slot corner. He didn't play a single defensive snap yesterday. They inserted Amik Robertson inside, and then David Long reemerged, who hasn't played in a couple of weeks, outside. And the Bears had a pretty good game plan where they were like, we're going to run it till they stop it. They never stopped it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say like Bajent played a great game. His average air yard attempt was 2.1 yards. Literally was throwing the ball 2 yards on average every play. But the issue is if you can't stop the run and it's 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, and then you're playing soft zone coverage behind it, like we've talked about for the last couple of weeks. This is a zone defense. They were basically game plan like they were playing an experienced quarterback and trying to take away the explosive down the field. And the Bears didn't even try it. They were like, we're going to run the ball. We're going to dink and dunk, and you're going to give it to us. We're going to take it. Not once did Patrick Graham put this quarterback in a position where he had to make a play on 2nd and long, 3rd and long. And that's on coaching, because we've seen teams do it to the Raiders, load the box, put extra guys in there, come downhill at the snap, and the Raiders linebackers kind of backed off. You didn't see Diablo and Spillane work downhill, and both of them ended up leaving this game due to injury. Yep. You didn't see them bring that extra safety in the box. There was numerous times once the Bears figured out that neither cornerback on the Raiders had any interest in physical contact yesterday, they just started throwing toss sweeps. And as much as Marcus Peters is getting a bunch of flack for basically whiffing on several tackles, David Long was doing the same thing on the other side. Yeah. Some bullfighting. And David Long looked like he made a lot of business decisions too. So the Bears figured out quickly that neither the Raiders aren't going to control the edge on either side of the line of scrimmage. We're just going to throw it wide and make them stop us, and they never did it. I don't know what happened. I saw a play where Marcus Epps did the same thing. He was in the hole, and he turned around and ran out of there to run after a guy on a running play. So the film is going to be very hard to watch, but you're going to see instances of Raiders defensive backs making a ton of business decisions in this game.
I think the interesting thing about both of them, with Patrick Graham and Josh McDaniels, it seems like they just, especially with Patrick Graham, is like lack of aggressiveness, the lack of killer instinct. You're going like you should be as a defensive coordinator. We kind of grew up in a different era where Buddy Ryan, people like that. Like when they had a quarterback like this, they would that kid would wet himself in the first quarter. Like, you know what I mean? The
blood.
game,
It's blood in the water. Like,
it's
you got to
blood.
come after.
You have to let your defenders thoroughly enjoy. Like, this is a stat padding game where, like, a guy like Max Crosby, you set him up for like 4 or 5 sacks. Like, I mean, like these are the kind of, you're not playing like a Gardner Minshew who actually has experience, who may be a backup. You're playing a guy who is this inexperienced, who is this, physically not physically gifted, but you still can't do anything to kind of get him off his spots, to make him go into a 3rd and 15, wondering where the hell your blitz is coming from. Those things are really the thing that's really bothering me the most. Is like, how do you, like, this lack of, like, this like little passive, like, hey, why can't, where's the blood in the water? People have blood in the water when they face the Raiders. I mean, as soon as the quarterback turns his back, those linebackers are coming down, and they're coming down and they're stuffing Josh Jacobs in the backfield. Like why? Where is that part of it for Patrick Graham? And then also, I mean, where is it for Josh McDaniels, who kind of coaches these games as if he's spotted a 17-point lead?
Yeah, for the people that listen to the channel over the last couple of weeks, I know you've asked me, does the defense look better on film? And I was telling you, they're not doing anything that they haven't done. And, they've shored up some coverage stuff on the back end, but if you can't get them into down and distance, your opponents, to where that can work, there was nothing that really stood out the last 2 wins on film that they were making vast improvements. They just played some quarterbacks that weren't able to make some plays and missed some open targets. But the decision to go with Hoyer, and I thought they were going to go with O'Connell. You mentioned earlier, but that right there, I think the whole game plan was take away the deep stuff defensively. Don't let them get anything big down the field. We're going to play this really conservative offense. We're going to try to win this game 13-10. And when you can't stop the run, the whole game plan went out the window. You can't run the ball. You can't stop the run. And that's what they had to do in this game. And those were the things that I had mentioned could be issues throughout this game. And Bajan didn't have a great game. He had 21 completions for 162 yards.
No.
They just didn't really put a lot of pressure on him. When he had to drop back and pass in the 2-minute drill, they got some pressure on him. But other than that, they didn't have to. And the defense missed way too many tackles. So if you're going to play soft and you're going to play off, you have to be able to tackle. You can't play soft and off and not tackle, because then you're giving up big explosive plays. And Marcus Peters, for what he's done in coverage, to me, I would have taken him off the field. Like, you have to send a message to your defense that is not acceptable to do that on the edge of a defense and not set the edge and just get out of the way numerous times. And I know you're down a defensive back, but David Long saw that going on. You know what David Long said? I'm going to do the same thing. They're not taking Marcus Peters out. Like, I'm not getting away with this big running back Foreman coming at me. And then you saw it kind of trickle through the defense because they were allowing it to happen. And that falls on the coaching staff.
Also, checkdowns can't be. So what happens in a checkdown, what's supposed to happen in a checkdown is you force the quarterback to go, he's looking long and he goes short, and then you wrap and tackle. So it's only like a 2, 3, 4 yard gain. Those are not meant to be explosive plays. Like it's, how many checkdowns am I seeing, like, where like it's a and the running back will catch it and there's literally nobody within 10 yards of them. So they, even if that was the purpose of the defense, they still are missing the boat there as well too. So I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, this was really like, and he's not the head coach, Patrick Graham, but the head coach is allowing this. You're coaching it or you're allowing it to happen. He's allowing this style of defense to be played. And you just can't continue to do that and call yourself a head coach.
Well, how do we know the head coach isn't telling him to do that? Because the head coach's offense can't score any points.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
So he's probably
it could be both.
Patrick Graham, let's play coverage, let's play back, let's take away all these explosive plays, and get into a field goal match. Because I'm sure it's kind of, excuse me, he's coaching. Patrick Graham is coaching the defense like Josh McDaniels was coaching the offense. It's not a coincidence.
Yes. Yeah. That's. And this is the way everybody should play the Raiders, because offensively, again, they just don't do anything. They don't do anything that makes the defense scared. Doesn't, they just sit there and just take little plays here and there. And eventually, I mean, they can't run the football. They built this offensive line, all this stuff like that. You can't. I mean, it's just 11 carries, 35 yards is not good enough. They don't try to get Trey Tucker involved, who might be able to stretch the defense. What was the point of trading up for for a guy who actually has a little bit of speed and some ability if you're not gonna try to target him and throw him on the field. Everybody. I mean, everybody in this offense has just been playing like everybody. This offense just looks lost. It looks terrible, and it has for the whole year.
Well, they did try to get Tucker involved because they ran the reverse to him or jet sweep, which they do in the first 10 plays of the last 3 games. So that's Josh McDaniels' creativity for you. Is we're going to get this guy involved early and then just go sit him on the bench for the rest of the day. The targets again, it was Adams and Myers and no one else. It was basically that. And I told you guys last week watching the film, like everyone expecting that Michael Mayer breakout. Like he caught 5 passes last week, but one was a hot, and he wasn't the first option on any of those plays really, other than maybe the mesh play. But I like getting the ball to Adams. He's open. When Adams is open, you got to give him the ball. So the section of Raider fans on Twitter that are just like, well, that's what you get. You can't score points. Devontae's happy. They're going to lose. Like, no, it was working. They drove the field. They were in field goal range. They didn't convert on the 3rd down. They drove past midfield on the 2nd down. Didn't convert on 3rd down when Hoyer threw behind Myers up the sideline. And then they didn't throw him the ball again till the end of the 3rd quarter. He went 2 quarters without another target, and they couldn't move the ball. So, like, the only way this team is going to score is if they throw to Adams. At this point, I don't care if they throw it to him 20 times a game. It's the only way this team is going to move the ball. The offense is stale. It's stagnant. The other teams know exactly what routes they're running. They can't run the ball. Like, I think Einstein said it, like, Josh McDaniels is doing the same thing every week, and he's getting the same exact results, and he doesn't know why. It's insanity watching this offense. Like, you literally, we're just going to run into the line. We can't run it. We're going to throw it to Adams a few times. We're going to throw it to Myers a couple times, and maybe we'll get someone else a target here or there. Like, it's not working. They have to do something differently. And when Josh McDaniels stands up there after the game and they're asking him how he's going to fix these issues, he has no clue. He doesn't know how to fix these issues. These issues have been here for 24 games and he hasn't fixed them. What makes us think he's going to fix them moving forward?
And he's pretty much stuck in his offense. I don't see, like, a lot of people are running stealing plays from Miami, stealing plays from Philadelphia, stealing plays from other offenses. I don't see any of that stuff. I think he's just gonna run his Ericard Perkins, whatever version of that, and then that's it. And you're not gonna see anything besides that. And I don't know. It's weird because I think he and Belichick were a great. Obviously Brady was the best quarterback of all time, but I think they were really great together. Where, like, Josh would game plan. Maybe during the game when Josh wants to call something, like Belichick could come in and just say, "Oh no, we're going to do this." I still don't see any of the wonderful screen action that I saw in New England for years. I don't see like the 2 tight end stuff that I saw in New England for all those years. I don't see a lot of any of that, and I just feel like he's just on an island by himself without a person to kind of guide him, and because he's the person who has to look in the mirror, and because he's a teacher now. The sub he's not a sub anymore. He's a teacher of the class, and he just is having a hard time teaching a class. And this is like the 2nd time he's had a chance to do it.
I mean, he did install the option play with Brian Hoyer and Zamir White, so got to give credit for that.
Oh my god, dude, that was tough.
I think part of it was you saw his conservative tendencies didn't really stand out as much in New England because they had a dominant elite defense for years, and you had the best quarterback of all time.
Yes.
Brady wasn't going out there and scoring 30, 35 points a week. They were winning games 24-10, 27 to 15, whatever. Like, Tom Brady's not known to have these high-flying, powering offenses. They weren't the Dolphins of this year. They weren't the 49ers. They're not the greatest show on turf for the Rams. They won with defense, Tom Brady being elite and clutch and making plays when it counted and being able to run the football. And this offense is stuck in the 90s, and it's 2023. And as you said, like, you don't see any creativity. There's none of these, like, fast motions. You're seeing all these other teams. They hardly run motion at all. I watched the game, and I'm like, where's the motion? Where are they going to –
One of the least in the league. One of the least teams to use motion in the league as the Raiders.
I mean, he did put 2 running backs in the game and tried that fake screen, throwback screen that almost got intercepted. Like, the creativity is nowhere in this offense. And then you turn the TV on and you're watching what some of these other teams are doing, the Eagles, the Dolphins, the Lions that the Raiders are going to see this week,
Yeah.
the Chiefs, of course, forever. And as a fan of football, like, I want my team to do some of that stuff. And it's just not going to happen.
Sure.
And I think Josh McDaniels at the point now where, like, I don't think there's no way that he's going to be able to turn this thing around. I hope I'm wrong, but, like, we're 7 weeks in. We're almost halfway through the season. The offense is considerably worse than it was last year, and it wasn't even good last year.
No.
They can't score any points. He kicked a field goal again. I was lost. Like, you have 4th and goal. What was it? 4th and 3, 4th and 4 inside the 10. They went for it. Got another chance to score a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Got the 4th and goal from like the 7 and kicked the field goal. It was 21-3 in the 4th quarter. Like, your defense can't stop the run. You're not getting the ball back. The Bears went right down the field. I don't even think they threw a pass and kicked a field goal and took the lead. But you saw Patrick Graham make no adjustments in this game defensively. When Bajan got outside the pocket, they let him run a couple times. You really didn't see Josh McDaniels do much of anything in this game other than just stand on the sidelines. And at this point, I don't know what Mark Davis is watching. There is no way that he can bring this group back next year. He cannot bring Josh McDaniels back. I don't care what his contract looks like. He thinks it's bad now. There's going to be 70 to 80% opposing fans in that stadium when you get into Thanksgiving and in December, because there's no reason for any Raider fans to want to go to that game. I just listed my Giants tickets. I was ready to go to the game. And I'm like, I don't know why I even want to go to the game at this point.
Yeah. Yes. And that was yeah, I can't. Okay.
Do you think I want to go watch Jimmy Garoppolo against the Jets defense? Like, they might not.
Did you go to the game this year yet?
I have not been to a game this year.
Yeah. I
was planning on doing it. The Giants, Jets, and then Vikings, Chargers at the last part of the season.
Yeah, it's. I mean, a lot of people who DM me and like text the show, text the text line said the same thing. It's just like, I don't want to give this any more energy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't. I mean, like, people who are Gardner Minshew put up like 30
38.
38
or
points.
30, against the number 1 defense in football.
Yes, I mean, and then and he did his thing. He did his thing in that game. Josh Dobbs has put up 20 points numerous times this year, 20 points or more. They can't score 20. Like, I mean, they can't. I mean, I don't know.
They barely scored 12 against a defense that was one of the worst in the league. The Bears. Do you believe the Bears? I heard this stat. I haven't checked it, so if it's wrong, it's wrong. But I heard someone talking. A national guy yesterday, the Bears defense was giving up 7 yards of play going into yesterday. That was basically what the Dolphins is doing on offense. That's how bad that Bears defense is. Yeah. And the Raiders got 235 yards.
Yeah.
You would have thought they were playing the 2000 Ravens.
That's what I'm saying. Like I said, I didn't see, I didn't see like Mike Dick on the sidelines this Sunday. I saw a guy who's going to get I saw a guy who, and yet again, he loses to a guy who is going to get fired at the end of the season. Like, how many fired head coaches does this guy have to lose? Like, think about, he loses to bad quarterbacks and he loses to coaches who are supposedly inferior to him because they beat him. But like, supposedly, he's supposed to be a better coach than Eberflus. And Eberflus is going to get fired this year. And we're still wondering whether or not, whether or not Josh is. Like, they can't be allowed to continue to make football decisions for this team. Like, if you're letting them do that, then what's the point, dude? Like, nobody's gonna go to these games, dude. Like, I mean, you were out here. I mean, I was watching. I was listening to another podcast, and he was talking about, I forgot who it was, but he's talking about how Mark Davis was paying like Aces players under the table, stuff like that. Like, he's going all out, bringing in the best of the best for the Aces. Like, do that for the Raiders. I mean, like, what are we doing with Josh McDaniels as a head coach? Like, give us the football version of Becky Hammond if you're gonna go all out for another for a team. It just drives me nuts.
Yeah, I think to me the point is like it's conservative as Josh McDaniels is, and this offense can't score in the red zone. But the biggest issue to me, like they can't convert on third down. And
Yeah,
it's not like they're in 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 12. They're in
yeah,
3rd and
sure.
manageable. He's not drawing up anything. There's no innovative stuff on third down. To John Gruden's credit, he was conservative as well, but like he always had wrinkles on third down and
Yeah,
he was really good at drawing up third down plays. And the Raiders are calling the same plays on first down they're calling on third down. There is no like we're going to do something completely different. Like what do they do on third down and red zone on practice? Like what are they running? Like cuz they're running the same stuff you turn on the film and watch on every other down. And if you're going to be an offensive guru, at least be able to convert third downs. He can't even do that. So like no third down conversion, can't score touchdowns in the red zone,
uh-huh.
can't get a running game going, can't involve his tight ends. Like I'm pretty sure we could find a lot of coaches in America at any level that could call up a play and say throw the ball to 17. And if every once in a while throw the ball to 16, that's all they're doing. Like
Yeah,
they can't get Josh Jacobs going. They can't get him involved really in the passing game other than checkdowns. They're not dictating anything to the defense. And to hear Josh McDaniels this morning on
pressure.
his press conference, he's just talking about, well, we just need to work harder. We need to get back. We need to work at it. We need to execute. When he starts talking about we need to execute, he's not taking any of the blame. He's basically saying my plays are good, my players aren't executing it, and that's going back to the locker room. And he should be saying, I need to design better plays. I need to call plays and get us into better situations. He's saying we just need to execute. And to me, as a player, I would think he's pointing the finger at me. Like he's not taking any of the blame for any of this.
No, no, and I don't want the. Yes, that's very true. I don't want
We
the.
just need to execute. That's all we got to do.
That's all we gotta do. You guys gotta be better. I mean, I'm good. Like my play sheet is flawless, but what you guys are doing is not what I'm asking you to do. So I don't know. You made a point about and Renfro got a catch. I got a lot of sarcastic applause when Renfro made a catch late in the game. You made a point about I guess they're trying to move him, and then you had a tweet saying like I wonder who gave him that contract that's almost impossible to move him with, and it's this regime. So like I just like what do you like I don't like I'm trying to find the wins for them. Like if you had a board or just a whiteboard, and I might do that for a show. This whiteboard that we just I'll have the whiteboard and you just tell me the wins and the losses for this regime. And like it's so many like losses. Like how do you sit there and those losses that they've done, the losses that they made in decision making are led to all his what is he now as a Raider head coach? What is he 9-15?
9-15, right?
Yeah, 9-15. So like I mean that's not and it's not like a 9-15 that we thought. If he was 9-15 and he was scoring 29 points a game and the defense was just horrid. Okay, you know what? Maybe you can make the argument. Okay, move on from Patrick Graham. Let's go out there and get another defensive guy to run the defense. But that's not the case. His offense is disgusting.
I'll ask you a better question. If you were 9-15 and you had young ascending players that were
Yes.
contributing and getting better,
Yes.
he's 9-15 with
Yes.
veterans that he.
Yes.
How many draft picks did he take? Let's just look at this year. How many of these guys are starters next year? Is Tyree Wilson a guaranteed starter going to next year? I would say no.
No.
Is Michael? I would say Mayer probably.
Yep.
Young, no. Tucker, no. Bennett, no. O'Connell, no. Smith, no. Bernie, no. Silvera, no.
No.
And the year before, the only guy is maybe Parham. So, like in 2 draft class, you found 2 starters. And Parham is what he is. He's an average NFL guard. Yeah. Nothing more, nothing less. But this team he brought in all of his own guys. So I don't. He was talking about
the roster.
We had juice. I liked the juice. He was clapping because I want to start calling him Jason Garrett because he was patting himself on the back like Barry Horowitz, an old wrestling reference, because they drove down to kick a field goal in the opening drive. So we had juice. We missed a field goal. Like that's not juice.
That's not juice. It's just not juice. We have to. I'll take the orange juice that Mike McDaniel is serving up rather than the juice that Josh McDaniel is any day of the week. Yeah. I mean that's what you just said is exactly the point. 9-15 with a bunch of young guys looks. I mean,
it's different.
It's different. Like if the Houston Texans lose next week and they're 3-4, their 3-4 always going to look a little different than our 3-4 because young quarterback, rookie deal, for first year head coach, prime time, potentially young pass rusher, in the top 5 of the draft. Like those kind of things get your fans excited. You can't tell a Texan fan nothing right now, and good for them. Like they made the right moves in the offseason. They didn't try to get a quarterback, as all these reports say. Oh, we tried. The Raiders tried so hard to get our quarterback, dude. Like
hard enough.
Not hard enough. You either done, or you either get it done or you don't. There is no, well, what did Yoda say? There is no try. It's just you just do. Like you have to just do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like other than that, I don't want to hear about it.
I do think you say 3-4, but I'm looking at their schedule. In the next five weeks, can you find a win?
For the Raiders?
The way they're playing right now, they're playing the Lions.
Let's do this exercise because it should be a good one. Let's go.
The Giants played better yesterday. That maybe they're at home. That's going to be a tough game, but that's winnable. We'll call it winnable. We're going to say a W.
Yeah.
The Jets defense is elite, and this team can't score against the Bears. Then they play the Dolphins and the Chiefs. So in the next 5 weeks, I'll say they win one game. Now they're 4-8. They're not 3-4.
Yeah.
Then what do you do? Like, there's some winnable games in December: Vikings, Chargers, Broncos, Colts. But at this point, I can't find a game other than the Giants where I think the Raiders will even be favored for the rest of the season.
I think the 4. I was in a Raiders chat today, and I was like, like we were kind of guess what the record would be. Some people said 5 wins. I think 4-13 is a very real possibility because I don't see the victor. So
I'll give him 3 more. I'll give him 6.
You give him 6. KC. I mean, like if they the New York, they have to split the New York. For them to get to year 6, they got to split New York. They got to split one of those 2 games. And obviously, I think if they lose the Giant game, then I don't see how they're going to move the football at all. Like some of the best quarterbacks in football couldn't move the ball against the Jets without turning the ball over 3 times in these games. Like that's a lick your chops game for that defense. And a Jimmy G game or even a Brian Hoyer game. At Miami, they don't score enough. They play the Chiefs twice, like you said. Can they do what they usually do and split with the Chargers? The Chargers aren't playing good football. Maybe that's a game they can win. If Minshew's going to score points in Indianapolis, I don't see that one. Kansas City on the road, you can put that game from 10 a.m., put it at 5 a.m. so nobody sees it, if you want. And then, probably the only game you're thinking about is the last game of the year, where everybody in the grandmother should be checked out of that one. I mean, I'm not putting
I'd say Vikings too. Vikings is a winnable game.
If true, the Vikings winnable game, you can get that bad Kirk Cousins game if you possibly, but if I can score 20 points, over 20 points, it's going to be a hard game for the Raiders to win because they just don't score. Like
that should be the next question. Will they score 20 points in any game this season?
Could you imagine? Can you imagine if they got brought back and didn't score 20 points in the entire season? Oh my God, the revolt would be weird. But I really like. To me, I don't know what I would do. I know that for me, I'm not bringing the crew back. I'm moving on. But I don't know if I would let him go during the season or let him go after the season's over. I kind of don't want any kind of, if I'm getting to the point where, like you say, if they're 3-9 or 4-8, like I don't want like a little bit of rally here at the end, like where they believe in Rob Ryan and they end up like winning a couple games here and there because he coaches better than Josh McDaniels or maybe he's a little bit more aggressive or something like that. Just at that point with this quarterback draft class coming out, like let's just do what we gotta do. If they get the 4-8, you got to get the 4-8. You gotta do what you gotta do to try to get a young quarterback in this building.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to move on during the season. There's really no advantage to that. You're telling the next potential coach, if you're not good enough in 20 games, we're going to fire you. There's no one to really take the spot, like unless it's going to be Patrick Graham with Rob Ryan calling the defense. But then not only are you going to have a new defensive play caller if you do that, you need a new offensive play caller. So I think it's just too much in the middle of the season to do that. So I don't think it would be Patrick Graham. So unless you're going to just elevate Rob Ryan or someone, and there's really no point in that at the end of the day. So
No.
I think the more harm than good can come from that. Let him coach out the season. We're going to say whatever we want to say every week on these recap shows when they lose, and we'll see what happens. We'll be doing more GM and more head coach stuff, hopefully. And if this team bottoms out and wins 4 or 5 games, and Mark Davis brings this crew back, it's going to be tough. Like, there's going to be a lot of Raider fans are going to be very upset, and there's no progress. Every week it's like another step back, and we're 24 games into this. So I would say I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, because there is no light at the end of the tunnel. So, like, they just need to pull the Band-Aid at the end of this year. Dave Ziegler, I'm sorry, you and your buddy got to go. Dave Ziegler hasn't really brought anyone in that's really made a difference. He's given away a ton of atrocious contracts at this point that haven't worked out. Whether that was his decision or not, he got in bed with Josh McDaniels, and he has to live with those decisions. And for me, they need to go out and hire a general manager first, and then have that general manager hire the coach he wants, and not do this buddy tandem stuff, which is something that we didn't want them to do in the first place after the whole John Gruden, Mike Mayock. And hopefully Tom Brady gets in the ear of the owner here, Mark Davis, and lets him, because I don't think Tom and Josh get along very well at all either. So, Tom Brady is probably going to be involved in this at some point on some level, as far as what direction they go after this.
He will.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're definitely. Tom is definitely going to be involved. As far as that goes. Yeah, we'll see. I got no words when you lose to one of the worst teams in football by that much. Like, if they lost this game in a different fashion, it might be a little bit of a different story. But when you lose by 18 points to the Bears, that's just awful. Anything else you want to break down?
I don't know. I'll watch the film at some point this week, but there won't be a lot of highlights being posted.
Yes. I'm gonna because I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna go. Do what I always do and look at the opponent and look at I can look at the Lions though. That's fun. Yeah, but it's bad football. All the way around, no question about it. So we'll see what happens. All right.
I would add one last thing. Do you think Josh Jacobs wants to come back to this next year? Josh Jacobs is gone. Like, Josh Jacobs, unless the Raiders just give him the contract he wants, I just don't see it being a fit next year. So then, not only is Josh Jacobs going to walk, I mean, I don't think they're going to franchise him. You can't risk $14 million a year at this point.
That's a hole.
There's so many holes in this roster.
That's a hole for a team though. I mean, you can't. I mean, I don't think. I mean, they don't even give. I can't. I mean, like, the whole like Zamir White thing too was like, when you get to that score where it's like, I mean, they play him like how do you not like play him at all? Like not even on a toss play on first down. Like, I mean, you got like a screen pass, something like you got to do. I mean, you can't. I worry about it in pass protection, so you can't really just like, drop back and just a 7-step drop and have him back there blocking a linebacker coming in. But I don't know. I mean, I think Josh Jacobs is going. I think it's really crazy because as bad as, and I don't love Mayock or Gruden, but as bad as they are, when their hits were Jacobs, Max Crosby, and like some of those guys were end up being top players. They're still here, and like you didn't even. I'm not saying replace Max Crosby, but you couldn't even replace. Of all the players who was the easiest to replace would be the running back. I see running backs all the time. I'm like, I watched the Colts game of the day, and Moss is taking carry. I mean, I know it's only 3 games for the top running back, but Moss is making plays for their offense. Like, it's just weird. They just don't. I don't know. They're really bad at what they do. There's no other way.
There's a real chance we look back at this era. If this does go off the rails and they're gone next year,
yeah,
you're going to look back at the Dave Ziegler era, and there's a real chance they got nothing from Josh Jacobs. They got nothing for Derek Carr. They're going to get a ham sandwich for Hunter Renfrow. They got a late 3rd-round pick for Darren Waller.
Yeah.
And their big moves were Bilal Nichols, bringing in Chandler Jones and Jimmy Garoppolo. And even with the trade for Devontae Adams, there's a real chance Devontae won't want to come back next year. I mean, if this thing really, and they may need to move him to get the assets to move up if they win a couple more games to get the quarterback they want.
Yeah.
And 2 years of Devontae. So I know the Carson Palmer trade by Hugh Jackson years ago cost them a lot, but they brought him in to try to win at the moment. What's Devontae's legacy going to be with the Raiders after he's going to be part of this whole Dave Ziegler? This whole era has basically been nothing but mess and bad move after bad move after bad move. Not saying Devontae was a bad move, but if you only get him for 2 years and this team doesn't win any games, it's a bad move.
Yeah, it's a bad move. It's not good. It's not good, Red Nation. We're not going to Red Nation, but we'll be here. We'll be here. All right. You had
on to Detroit.
On to Detroit. Have fun at the grocery store, man. Take care.
All right.
Bye.